Greetings, my name is Dr. W.D. Gaster, Primary Royal Scientist under the decree of King Astor Dreamer. I am documenting my findings in regards to an alternative path of progression that one of the many participants of my survey has decided to pursue. Before I begin with my findings, I shall preface the layout of this world in order to more easily convey further information. The world of Deltarune can be attributed to three major factors: the light world, the dark world, and the depths. The depths is the source of magic that casts the forms of darkness, while the light world holds the parallels that give the dark world's locations and inhabitants their unique forms. The dark worlds, unaltered by outside stimuli, exist without any restraint in regards to one another and are in a constant state of quantum superposition. When a lightner plunges a sharp object imbued with determination into the ground, they open a fountain straight from the depths. The resulting influx of magic forces whatever dark world is parallel to its light world counterpart to flood into its location, separating it from the other dark worlds. The dark world and its inhabitants, now in an enclosed location in the light world, are forcefully bonded to whatever their light world counterparts are and are forced to take on a set form, thus making migration to other dark worlds potentially harmful or even fatal. This also changes the way dark worlds made afterwards are formed, akin to a cosmic game of telephone. Once the dark fountain has been sealed, the dark world ceases to exist and the darkness are forcefully turned into whatever their light world counterparts are, their only chance at continued survival being pure chance and hoping that a lightner will put them into another dark world that will accept them. While this act of opening and sealing fountains seems harmless at first, repetitive opening and eradicating of dark worlds weaken the barrier between light and dark, eventually putting a strain on it until well, by now you must already know the prophecy. Since I first uploaded my survey program, an approximate of 102,916 participants have shown valuable results. If we keep this number as a set value and multiply by general parts of progression, such as violence or mercy or choosing to seek out those who I have reached out to, we get 1,852,488 unique results. Out of all these results, one managed to surprise me by what it had shown, or rather what it simultaneously did and did not show. To start, this particular participant had managed to encounter dialogue that I had not intentionally included or created, even under the circumstances that I had designed when creating the device used to connect participants to my survey. For example, if the adverse host was forced to interact with something that they previously were not capable of, any and all internal monologue and narration would be censored and hidden on the participant's side to encourage linear progression. This encouragement is true for any dialogue that I may purposefully add. But despite all this, the participant managed to encounter not just new dialogue but also new events, such as when repeatedly interacting with the adverse host's birdcage and receiving dialogue that with enough force one could break out. Later, They managed to stall the credits, designed to progress the story by breaking out of the birdcage and waiting until the adverse host returned and forcefully putting them back into themselves. Only then did the credits sequence begin. When repeatedly interacting with the couch and making the adverse host search for nothing, this will come into play in a moment. When repeatedly interacting with the bathroom cupboard, receiving dialogue that the hinges are loose. Later, when the adverse host went to slash the tires of their mother's car, the participant managed to exit the cupboard and began making their way towards the door, only to be interrupted and put back into the adverse host. Now, as I have previously stated, the couch comes into play. The participants' repetitive actions and rebelling against the actions of the adverse host were clearly having an effect, making the adverse host slip up on making sure their plans were perfect. I shall play a demonstration of the events that had unfolded, and afterwards I shall discuss the importance of this result. As you have just witnessed, the adverse host, under the shock and stress of the participant rebelling, forgot to fix the cushions that they attempted to use to contain the participant. As such, the participant forcefully took back control before the adverse host could properly form a dark fountain. This is important, as the magical forces of darkness depend on the will of the lightner being forced to take a specific form and said form being forced to bond with its appropriate light world parallel. But the participants are outside of the world of Deltarune, thus why I made the device. Because of this, the darkness is unable to determine the will of who released it, thus the entire dark world formed inside the dreamer household being in one giant state of quantum superposition. This, including how future dark worlds are formed, changes the entirety of this world. While the will of the participant has little to no effect internally, externally it has the capability to change the way my survey will go, to change the way the prophecy will go, to change the entire world. I shall admit, at first I was quite exasperated by the sudden shift in the narrative of my program, but I quickly grew fond of these new opportunities. So much to learn, so much to examine, so much to dissect. So, I must thank you. Keep on sharing with each other and keep being determined to find something new. Thank you for making new futures for me to test. Thank you for pushing the adverse host to their breaking point. These new futures look very, very interesting. What do all of you think?